Whether you're looking for a new car, used car, demo car, or just a service and parts department, Tait Auto Group has all your automotive needs covered. If you have any questions about their vehicles or their services, please hop on Facebook or visit their website, taitautogroup.com.au. That's T-A-I-T, taitautogroup.com.au. Tait Auto Group works hard to provide their customers the very best vehicles and exceptional service. It is important to the team at Tait Auto Group that their customers leave the dealership with a vehicle that is perfectly suited to their lifestyle and budget.
Why do we race? Is it to prove how fast we are? How far we can go? Do we race to find our place? To test our beliefs? To be part of something greater? To face fear? To know sacrifice? To grow stronger? To become immortal? In truth, there is no simple answer to why we race. There is only the fact that we always will.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 1 of Sim Talk. I'm your host with the most, Dallas. This is episode 1, of course. Just something that we're going to be trying to do moving forward. A couple of podcasts, one a week at least. I'd like to shout out to Tait Auto, of course, for making this possible. If you weren't aware, Tait Auto also an Auto Pro store. Now, if you are to message the Evans eSport page with your shopping cart from the Auto Pro website, those guys will get it sorted with 10% off offer. But you must, of course, message Evans eSports with your wish list, and you'll get 10% off. So, thank you to Tait Auto Group for sorting us out with that one. Now, this podcast, of course, is something that, as I said, we're going to be trying to do moving forward. Evans eSports was something that I created some time ago, just to support myself and push and promote some things that I've been doing, some sim racing, and it's just, as of late, it's just kind of slowly taken off. And it's just giving the guys that are not racing at a professional level but want to get that experience. We're trying to obviously offer that, and just you don't have to have huge rigs and huge amounts of dollars to obviously enjoy yourself and get amongst all the fun that is sim racing. And it's a sport, and it's certainly taking over the globe. So tonight we're going to be obviously speaking sim racing, and I'll be talking about my experiences with that, where it's taken me, what it's done for me. We've also got a guest. We've got Dan. He'll be jumping on board. He's new to the sim racing world as well. Just recently got himself a rig, so we're chatting about his experiences with that and how it's taken him, and where he wants to go with it. We've also got a new series on board with Evans eSports, so we'll be speaking that as well. Welcome to the show, Dan, mate. How you feeling? How was your day?
Yeah, mate, wasn't too bad. Bit hot up here, actually.
And you're not on the Gold Coast, right? That's correct, isn't it?
No, I'm in Logan.
Logan, up there, a little bit north, hey?
Yeah, a little bit more.
Very good, mate. Very good. Well, thanks for joining us, mate. It's a pleasure to have you here.
No worries, mate. I'm keen to be here.
Mate, now you were just we'll talk of the new series that you're getting yourself involved with. Just released today with Evans Esport, the V8 Supercar series. I know you're pumped for that. How are you? How are you feeling? Besides, the being excited as you are.
Yeah, I'm actually quite nervous, to be honest. I haven't really driven these V8s that much, so, and now that I've got myself a rig, it's going to be interesting to see how I go. I know I've had a couple of tests in the Ford Falcon. I know it's very twitchy in the rear end, so we'll see how we go.
But yeah, it's certainly going to test you, and I guess that's the idea of the series as well. Just putting everyone on their absolute limit. No assist, ABS and all that's turned off. Manual with clutch, and it's just gonna test the limits of both yourself and your equipment.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the first esports series, Evans Esports series, that was my first series race and manual with clutch, and I actually did pretty well in that. Actually, I thought. But yeah, now it's a total different ball game because the first series was I was on a controller. Now I'm actually on a proper rig, full setup, steering wheel, H pattern gears, clutch, everything. So
Yeah, and it's certainly it's an art in itself, isn't it? And it kind of brings me to my next point as well. You crossing over, you recently got yourself a rig. Do you want to tell the listeners how you managed to obtain that rig and your thoughts with crossing over from, as you said, the controller and getting yourself into a full blown rig?
yeah, the story is actually quite funny. There was a competition on Facebook by Next Level Racing, and they were giving away a Challenger rig, basically. So I basically liked and shared the page and commented saying, I'd really like to win this because it'll set my next career into overdrive, basically. Just used to driving on controller. A couple of weeks later, I won it, and it was at my front door. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I remember
it
entering that
was it
competition
was
too. I mean, I think it was you had to like, comment, and share, and whatever it was. And I remember doing it personally myself, and I thought to myself, I'm never going to have a chance. The person that wins this just has to be an absolute arse. And well, it was you, mate. So no offense, but just one of the luckiest SOBs that I know.
Oh yeah, I honestly did not realise or didn't think I was going to win it. I entered it going, yeah, right. This is rigged. They're going to choose one of their mates or something like that. And as soon as I got the message saying you won, I was at work and my mouth just dropped. I was like, "You're kidding me." I ended up sending a message back 2 or 3 times going, "Are you serious? Did I win it? Are you serious?"
Mate, I can just imagine the other guy on the other end. Mate, if you ask me if you're serious one more time, I'll give it to someone else.
Yeah.
uh,
It would not surprise me, eh?
Nah, but man, congratulations again for winning that, mate. If couldn't have went to a more deserving bloke. Certainly happy that it was you, man. And I mean, crossing over into the rig, that experience from going from controller to rig, that's next level. I've been there, mate, and give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, to start off with, it was actually a lot harder than it is to race with no traction or ABS on controller. Um, I honestly thought, jumping in this thing, I thought I had no traction, no ABS, I should be a lot smoother than I am on controller, and it's actually a lot harder than what everyone
Yeah,
thinks.
yeah,
Especially when you come down to racing with the clutch, on controller, it's just 2 buttons you press together, and that's it. And same as going down the gears, 2 buttons, you change
yep,
gears.
yep,
Now that you're on the rig, you've actually got to learn the art of, heel toe, clutch in at the same time, downshifting through the gears without locking the rears or locking the fronts at the same time, counter steering, oversteering, all at the same time. And it's just like, wow, this is actually a real art.
yep, yep. Exactly, mate. It's next level performance. Your mind has to be, pinpoint sharp, because you're literally dancing on the pedals.
Yeah, I know the little series I'm doing at the moment, the little HQ Cup. Um, I'm running in that, and yeah, they've got it very loose in the rear end, so any correction, and you're basically tank slapping it down the main straight. So it's a art to try and, slow yourself down through the gears and everything like that.
Yep.
Nice and smooth through the corner, putting the accelerator on smoothly, not just jumping on it like you do on controller.
Yeah, exactly.
And then trying to just smooth the slide out. And there's a lot of people wouldn't realise, but whenever they watch racing or anything like that, if they look close enough, Scotty McLaughlin, Wink Up, everyone do it. They come out of a corner and they're actually sliding out of the corner. They're not actually driving out of it. They're sliding out of it. It's a controlled slide.
Yep.
And yeah, you get that down packed, and that's basically the fastest way around corners. Is you come through the corner and you just slide it out. You feel the car. It's only like the tiniest bit of a slide, but it's enough for you to go, oh, if I'm not concentrating here, I'm either going to put myself straight into the wall, or I'm having a big tank slapper down the straight.
That's right. You're up there. You're teeter-tot, and it's a fine line. You can, like you said, you can feel it, and if you cross that line, and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think...
And yeah, the difference is too, going from controller to rig, you can actually feel the tyres going now as well. Even though there's no G-forces in the steering wheel or anything like that, just the way you're controlling it, turning the wheel and everything like that, you can actually start to feel, okay, the tyres are going out on me. I need to, back off or, head into the pits. Where on controller, because you're only pushing a button side to side or a controller side to side, you can't feel that at all, and you're just going off by what the car's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest thing for me, crossing over from the controller to the rig, also is the racing line. You're taking an absolute different racing line to what you would normally do with the controller.
Oh yeah, I mean the first couple of races I did on the rig, I was still using the racing line that I do on controller, and I was actually slower than what I usually am when I'm racing on the controller. I couldn't figure out, and I'm like, what's going on here? I'm 2 seconds slower than I would be if I was using the controller.
Yep.
It took me a good 6-7 races before I actually realised and went, hang on, I've got to take a completely different racing line here. I'm not just on a controller anymore. I've got to actually go out wide of the corner, bring itself back in, widen it back up, almost straight lining the corners now, where on controller, you can actually slow yourself down and pull yourself out of it a lot easier than you can on the controller. So you've actually got to make the corner as wide as you can, basically straighten it up, if you want to say, to try and get that maximum power out through the corner and out of it.
Yep, exactly. And I guess you can feel the turns and you can control the steering angle much more in the controller, which that again is an art. Just manipulating where you want to put the car and how you want to put it there. Like you said, you jump on the controller, you're crunching buttons, and it's more arcadey with the controller, as it would be because you're using the controller, but it's just got that feel about it as well, where the rig, it feels like you can, it's almost pinpoint accuracy when you're using the rig for that reason. You can, the minute changes to the steering angle can ultimately affect the outcome of the turn.
Oh yeah, I mean, on like coming into let's just say braking, for instance, controller, you can brake a lot later than what you can actually in a rig. In a rig, you've actually got to slow down just that little bit earlier, getting yourself off the brake, slowly putting yourself back on the accelerator, and then powering through. Whereas a controller, you push the brakes down, you're off the brakes, and then you push the accelerator down. That's it. I mean, it doesn't sound like much of a difference, but between the two, you're probably looking at about half a second to a second per corner per track.
Yep.
So you add that up over time. Controller, let's just say Bathurst V8s. You do, let's say, a 2-minute 12. You do it on the rig and actually do a different racing line or proper racing line that you should do, the way you should be doing it on a rig.
Yep.
You'd easily gain anywhere between 2 to 3 seconds.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. And I think
And the other difference as well. Sorry to interrupt you there, Dallas.
you're right.
The other difference as well, you can't. There's a lot of tracks on Forza, Project Cars 2, Assetto's Corso. I think there's another game. There's a lot of bumps in the track which you can't see, and on controller you can't feel it. All you hear is a bit of a lock up, and that's it.
Exactly.
As soon as you're on that rig, as I said, there's no G-forces or anything. It's not like we're using a proper simulation thing here. It's just basically a seat with a steering wheel on top of a pole where you bolt it together, basically. So there's no G-forces, but you can actually feel the way you're turning, the way you're braking, the way you're accelerating through. You can actually feel the bumps in the road.
100%. The elevation, the inclines, the declines. At Mount Panorama, like you said, back to Bathurst, with the controller, it's not something you can feel going down through the S's and the dipper. With the controller, you can't feel that.
No.
But once you feel that, that left hand inside tire, that front tire get weightless almost. There's no weight on the front of it. You can feel that through the control, through the rig, through the steering wheel.
Yeah, well, see, the steering wheel. So the difference between the steering wheel and a controller is basically the controller's got no force at all, no force feedback or nothing. It's just basically your controller goes back and forth.
Yep.
Where in the wheel, because there's so much force feedback in it, when the wheel does lift up, or if you do hit the grass or anything like that, you'll actually feel the steering go from stiff that you're on the road, and as soon as it lifts up, you'll actually loosen up. The steering wheel will loosen up.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where when you watch a lot of inexperienced racers in real life, so the Dunlop Series or the Hyundai XL Cup, anyone that's not as experienced, as soon as that wheel comes up and that steering wheel goes light,
Yep.
they automatically go, uh-oh, something's gone wrong. I'll try and counter steer this. The problem is they've still got one wheel on the road, and that's not what they're feeling. They're just feeling, okay, it's gone loose. I need to try and correct this.
Yep. Exactly.
As soon as their steering's just turned that little bit more, it only has to be a fraction more.
Yep.
As soon as that wheel's turned that fraction more and they hit the ground, that's when the car spins out and puts itself into the wall, because it's not. The wheel has to stay at the same momentum as it goes up in the air until it comes down to the air. You turn it that fraction more, left or right. That's it. See you later. You're into the wall.
That's right. As soon as that wheel makes contact again, she's all over. And touching on that,
That's
I think
it.
you spoke of experience and that, and unless you've got this experience that we're speaking of, a lot of people, you probably cop it as well, mate. I know I have. Not so much now that Evans Esports and everything's slowly taking off, but in the past I've copped so much crap from, you sit at home and you play games all day. Being in the rig is a completely different immersive experience, and I don't think anyone could, you can't put that in the same category as playing a game.
Oh no, there's two different things. You've got sitting at home on a controller, just playing, your shooting games, COD or Crash Bandicoot or something like that. That's gaming. When it comes to this, when it's an actual rig, and a lot of people who haven't been in this situation or don't have the experience don't understand how much of a difference it is and how much your mind is actually going.
Yeah.
It's a really different experience. It is a very different experience. It's not just gaming. It's like a hobby, basically. It's a cheap version of racing.
Oh, mate, 100%.
You've still got to have the commitment. You still got to have the brain power. You still got to have the fitness to do it, because, 10 laps around Bathurst on controller makes you sweat. Can you imagine trying to do that on a rig?
Yeah, exactly.
You're turning, you're braking, you're clutching, you're changing gears, you're up, you're down, you're going back and forth. It is actually a really big workout, and unless you're used to it or experienced, as we say, it is very, very hard.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate the rig and the power of technology these days. Forza Motorsport 7's great for it. Of course, Project Cars 2 as well. The technology's come so far with the way that they manipulate the cars and the laser scanning of the track. People who haven't experienced rigs before, they get in it and they think they're playing bloody, Need for Speed, bloody 2002, an arcade game.
Yeah.
They get in there and they just, power flat to the floor. they need to turn right, so they just, full lock to the right. And before they know, they're into the wall and they've given up. For me, that was the hardest thing to develop for myself, was to take the time and learn the rig, but in a way that obviously with Forza you have the ability to drive multiple versions of cars and a different range of cars, all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, Honda Civics, V8 supercars. While you're learning the rig, you're also having to change the way that you use that rig to the car that you're driving.
Well, that's correct. So basically, for instance, the HQ Cup I'm doing at the moment, the car's a lot slower. There's a lot more torque though. We're on sports tyres. The car's a little bit heavier than what the V8 supercar is. So I've got to drive it to a way that I'm not losing the back end when I'm powering through a corner, but I can't lose too much time if my wheels start spinning. Whereas the V8 supercar, it's a lot lighter, it's a lot more power. It's got a lot more downforce, a lot more grip.
Yep.
So I then got to change my driving style. I can't drive Bathurst the same way as I do in the HQ than I do in a V8 supercar. Same as a Honda Civic, same as a GT BMW. I can't race the same lines. I can't brake at the same points, or because different brake pressures, different brakes altogether. So racing brakes, sports brakes, street brakes. If you're just running in a little Honda Civic or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's different lines per different car, per different category.
Exactly right. And I think, going back to the people, are you just sitting down playing games, whatever the case is, until they've actually experienced it, they're never going to have an idea, and until they give it the time, they'll never understand. And I think that's probably the most frustrating part for me is, I'm so passionate about it, and I can hear the way that you talk about it as well. You're very, very passionate about it. And I get so frustrated that people don't give it the respect and the time it deserves, I think, being an esports driver.
Well, that's it, yeah. As I said, yeah, I'm that passionate about it. When people turn around and say, "Oh, you're just gaming," well, no, I'm not. There is a difference.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not sitting at home on my butt, eating pizza and Coke all day long, and playing Crash or playing this or playing that. No, I'm actually learning what I'm doing. Okay, I'm learning the car. I'm learning the track. I'm learning. Okay, I've got to brake a little bit later here. I've got to brake earlier here. I've got to get on the accelerator earlier. I've got to be off the accelerator earlier. I can't turn too much. I've got to turn too much. I can't take the ripple strip here. I've got to take the ripple strip. There's a lot of things to it, and that's what people don't understand. They, as you said, all they think is you turn the Xbox on, you jump in a car, and you go, right, we'll flat-foot it here. I will slam the brakes on, we'll turn and flat-foot it again.
Yep, it doesn't work that way.
It does not. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. And the other thing is too, and a lot of people, if they understand what we're talking about and agree, when you're driving something on this, even though it is a little bit more arcadey than it is in real life, it's not obviously going to be the perfect simulation. You can't have the perfect simulation unless you're in a proper race car.
Yeah. Or you spend, Motion X, I think it is, which is worth a ridiculous amount of money. I think Erebus, there's only 2 or 3 teams in Australia that have got one, and they're worth a
Yeah, and I think Erebus and Red Bull and Dick, I think, are the 3 teams that actually have one.
Yeah, and they're worth a ridiculous amount of money. Unless you're spending that kind of money, exactly, back to your point. There's just, I don't know, like, as we said, we're just, unless they give it the time, they're just never ever going to understand.
No, that's it, they're not. And as I said, even though this is that little bit more arcadey, I can get a car that literally is exactly like mine. I can set it up to the exact point the same as mine, same horsepower, same torque, same brake pressures, everything like that. And I can literally sit there and go, you know what, I feel like doing a bit of a hoon today, or doing a bit of a burnout. Guess what? I can at least do it on the game.
Yep.
As everyone calls it, it's just a game. I can at least do it on the game. And I know for a fact it's not going to hurt anyone. I know for a fact my car's not going to be smashed up.
Yep.
And the best thing about it, even though it is that tiniest bit arcadey, you're still learning stuff
Yeah.
for when you are driving in real life.
Exactly right, mate.
Because you're learning how to put the accelerator on, when not to put the accelerator on, when to put the clutch in, when not to put the clutch in, how fast changing gears before you brake it, how quickly you can turn the steering wheel before something goes wrong.
Yeah. Life
Obviously, there
skills.
will be slight differences in real life to the game, but it has got that much real life instincts to this game.
Yep.
It is unbelievable, and this is what a lot of people will not understand about
No,
it.
that's exactly right, mate. As I said, life skills. If you were cruising down the freeway in your Falcon, and you were put in a situation where you had to, you had a split second to make a decision, it's doing this in the rig is certainly empowering that decision making, and safely you could do it.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the game, Project Cars 2, I'm pretty sure, it's more of a simulation than what it is than Forza. So the difference between, as I said, there's 3 or 4, there's even, I think, 6 or 7 different racing games, and they're all different. It goes from arcadey to simulation. Forza and Project Cars 2 are basically your top 2. Project Cars is probably your number 1 simulation one, where it also has blowouts. So you'd be racing down the straight, let's say Bathurst, going down Condon Straight,
Yep.
and all of a sudden you've got a blowout. If that happens in real life, you've got a split-second reaction to try and figure out, what am I doing? Am I putting the brakes on? Do I try and accelerate out of it? Do I just ease off the accelerator?
Yeah.
This is where the game comes in handy, especially with Project Cars 2. If you get a blowout in the game, you can try multiple things. Okay, let's slam the brakes on and see what happens. Well, that just put me in the wall. Okay, what about accelerating through it? Or I've just got a bit taily. Hang on, I'll just back out of it. So that way, if it happens in real life, you go, a split-second reaction, you've gone, I know exactly how to deal with this, and you just ease off it, or brake, or whatever the occasion is.
That's right. You're almost at the point to go, well, I've trained for this, I know exactly what to do,
Yes. And I mean, a lot of... another thing, too, is when people turn around and say it's only gaming and everything like that, I keep going back to the point of, if it's just a game, as everyone keeps calling it, why is Supercars so interested in having an esports series on the iRacing, which is on the computer?
Mate, they've got teams that have contracted drivers racing in their esports series.
Yeah, so you had, I think there was Gary Rogers, there was Red Bull,
That's right.
there was Xbox itself sponsored someone, there was DJR, there was a lot of different racing teams actually sponsoring these kids. There's some of them, I think one of them youngest was 18.
Yeah, yep. There's...
They're sponsoring them, getting them out there saying, right, okay, you haven't got the money to race in real life, which a lot of us won't.
We won't.
Unless we know someone in the sport. Yeah.
Yep.
These guys are going, you know what? How about you race this instead?
Yep, mate.
We'll sponsor you. We'll pay for your stuff.
Yep.
Here you go.
And what I enjoy about it as well, mate, these guys are professional drivers. They've contracted to teams, like you said, the Gerald Fishells and the Madison Downs and that. They're contracted to teams, Gary Rogers, Brad Jones, Red Bull. But at the same time, in the off-season, these guys do what you and I do. They go to work from 8 to 5. They bust their ass to make ends meet, but they can come back to what they know and what they love, their hobby, as we've spoken of, and at the same time make something of it, make a career of it also. And it's only going to get bigger, man. I would love, I can't wait to see what esports and sim racing's got to offer in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. I mean, as I said, unless you've been in it, you're not going to be knowing what we're on about. But once you figure out what page we're on, you're going to be sitting there going, you know what? Wow, these guys go through so much.
Yeah, yep.
This is going to be amazing.
And I think in this day and age, mate, and unless if you're a huge hardcore racing fan, as most of us are, particularly the listeners at the moment, if they're listening to this, if you're a passionate racing fan in this day and age, I feel if you're not in some kind of way of racing in the sim racing world, you're probably not the racing fan that you think you are.
That's it. I mean, I've been a racing fan since I was a young kid. I mean, I remember my first race I watched. I think I was only 5 or 6 years old, and it was Lowndes winning his first Bathurst.
Oh
I
wow,
mean, I
yeah,
think what that was back in '96 or something like that. So I was
96.
very young. I can't even remember my age. Yeah. So that was my first watching a race thing. My dad's been a racing fan for ages. You know, my dad got me into it. He races cars himself. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
nothing big. It's just a little improved production racing association here up in Queensland. You know, it's just a little get a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder and chuck it on a track and race.
yeah,
You know, um, but I've been watching racing ever since. And until the day I actually got my the Xbox, I got Forza, and I started racing around Bathurst myself in a V8 supercar. I've gone, wow, these guys actually do a fair amount. Now that I've got the rig and I've done the same thing,
yep.
I there's no way I'd be able to pull off what they do.
Oh,
At 250 something k's around the top of the mountain, and and I think last year or the year before, Lowndes decided to try and undertake Will Davison through the top of the
yep,
mountain.
yep.
I'm sitting there on the top of the mountain on the rig, having someone follow me, going, "If he's too close, this is going to hurt."
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and it's putting you. It's
The
you're right, you're right.
oh, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, mate, it's the sim gives you the opportunity and puts you in the situation that you without it you could not normally be in. Like you said, you haven't got the big dollars. You can't just go and jump in a race car and go around Bathurst, and it allows you to obviously be, being the underdog, I guess, of the racing world, being those in real life cars and us guys in sim cars. It's still allowing us to have that experience.
That's it. And I mean, I've heard a lot of people, and especially these are racing fans that I probably have not even jumped on a simulation thing. A lot of people have turned around and said, "Oh, V8 supercars are just big go-karts, you know? It's just a big go-kart with an engine in it." It is a totally different thing.
Yep.
When you're going around Bathurst at the top of the mountain and you got that car sliding and you don't know if you've got enough grip or you've got too much grip or you hadn't got enough grip,
Yep.
and you're coming up against the wall, I'm telling you now, it is not a go-kart.
That's right.
Because a go-kart, at least it grips to the track, and you know for a fact if you're going off, you're going off. These things, you've got to push it to the limit to the point of you're fearing you're going off the track. If you're not fearing you're going off the track, you're not driving it hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's like you said, mate, they're not, they're, what are they, ton and a half?
That's it.
800 and something horsepowers or 650 horsepowers or whatever it may be. They are not a go-kart. Far from it.
No. So, yeah, as I said, it is, unless you've done it, it is an incredible experience, and it shows, or gives you more respect for the actual drivers out there, like Jamie Whincup, for instance, 7-time championship winner. The amount of respect I have for him to actually win the championship 7 times.
Yep, exactly.
And keep doing it. And then same as Scotty McLaughlin winning his first championship and still coming out and still going. It's the respect I have for them is incredible. Watching the V8s is one thing. Going live and watching them, hearing the sound and the smell is another thing. Actually learning the simulation or the actual track on this rig, and then watching them do it on the track, you're just going, nah, no way.
Yeah.
This is impossible. I'm pushing this car to the absolute limit. I can't push it any further. I'm scared. These guys do it for 161 laps or 70 laps per person.
Yep.
And they're doing it non-stop, lap after lap
Yep.
after lap after lap.
Yep. And
there's not one moment where they've go, oh, hang on. Oh, I better back off. This is too scary. No, they're going, you know what? I haven't come off. I'm going to push it harder next time.
Yep.
Or I came off a little bit there. That's my limit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, unless you're scraping that wall or you're having that car slide,
Yep.
you ain't pushing the limit. And every race car driver will tell you, unless you have crashed, you have not pushed that car hard enough.
Exactly, mate. And, I mean, yeah, we as sim racers have kind of got the benefit, and I know people have said to me, come and drive a real car. Mate, you put your real car into the wall at 150 kilometres an hour, it's all over. We have the ability to press a reset button or whatever, pause, uh, and I guess we have the ability to maybe push that little bit harder, but at the same time, we're not wrestling with death. We're not wrestling 1,500 pounds or a ton and a half of race car. So the level of respect, like you said, that I've got for drivers now is next level, and it gives you a better understanding of what they're actually putting not only their bodies through each lap, but their minds as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, the the G forces in those cars, I won't know what that feels like unless I buy myself, as you said, one of those X simulation things. I won't know what that G force feels like.
Yep.
But
Yep.
to actually watch on my screen, because on Forza, and I think Project Cars 2 does it as well, you can actually come up with a little thing on your screen that actually tells you how much G-force the car's having.
Yeah.
So 4.1 negative or 2.1 lateral, or everything like that. So you kind of know, okay, this is how much G-force these guys are going through.
Yeah.
To have that same G-force lap after lap after lap after lap without passing out, without throwing up, without, I now understand myself how that year David Reynolds almost won Bathurst, and Lowndes and Richards end up passing him because he cramped in the leg.
Yep. Yep.
And everyone sat there and went, "You sook, he cramped in the leg. Oh, it's a bit of a cramp." What people do not realise is the G-forces that go through that, the brake pressure
Oh,
that is in those things.
mate,
You literally, I think Lowndes was saying he trains pushing 150 kilos weight on his legs,
yep.
because that's what it feels like every time he stops it or slows the car down. He's pushing on 150 kilos every single time he hits that brake.
Yep. I think that was.
You do that lap after lap after lap,
Mate, you're gonna cramp.
You're gonna cramp.
You're gonna cramp. Exactly right, mate. And I've been fortunate enough, to get myself in a real race car. 2017, I went away and competed for the Aussie Driver Search. That was mind blowing. As the story goes, Aussie Driver Search collapsed. That being said, it was one of the best experiences of my life. To not only get in a real race car, that was a dream come true in itself. But when I got the phone call, I applied for Aussie Driver Search for the Amateur Series. I thought, I'm a sim racer. I'll put myself in the Amateur Series. When he rang me, he said, "Mate," he said, "congratulations, you've made yourself to the Pro Division." I just went, "What the hell?" And a bit like you with your sim rig, mate. I just like, "Nah, you're kidding, right?" The Pro Division, and I was lucky enough to go and race, and the amount, like you said, the G forces that I was going through. I wasn't prepared for that. There was no way that I was expecting that. I knew that I was going to get thrown around like a little rag doll, but it was mind blowing. And I mean, for me as a sim racer to obviously maybe compete at that level, I guess you could say, that was something I could really be proud of. From my sim racing background, it got me there. There's no way I could have done that on a controller, and there's no way I could have done that by not getting myself into the rig.
Well, that's it. And as I said, we go back to the start where people were saying it's just a game. Well, if it's just a game, how is it being able to push you to actually do your dream, to actually race a car, everything like that?
Yeah.
If it is just a game, it shouldn't have been able to do that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, mate. And to this day, I still, I go through the pictures sometimes and just the videos and all that, and I just go, man, that was such an experience. I am so grateful for the opportunity, and it all comes down to the rig, to sim racing and esports, and giving it the time and the opportunity to develop. And I just don't think it could have been possible without obviously doing what we're doing today.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, as we said, unless you know someone in the sport or you've got a family member in the sport, The only way we are going to know how this feels is going back to the rig, going back to simulation, because there is no way we're going to get into that sport.
No. No, and it comes, I met some outstanding people and some amazing people that I still keep in touch with now that are in the industry and that are in the sport, but I feel that in no way would they be, hey, I know a really good driver, because we just don't have that kind of budget, I guess, that you need to put on the table to actually get into the game.
Well, that's it, and I think a lot of people sit there and go, okay, the car's sponsored, everything like that. When the driver crashes, he ain't paying a thing. That's a load of bull.
Oh, yeah.
The driver gets paid to do his job. That's correct. The sponsors pay as well. That's correct. Everything like that is correct. The difference is if say Scotty McLaughlin crashes his vehicle, he still has to pay the team.
That's right.
To fix that car, because it was under him. It was under his control. He still had to pay to fix that. If I decide to go tomorrow, walk up to DJR and say, mate, I'm racing your Mustang around Albert Park next week, he's going to sit there and laugh at me for the simple fact of, if I come off of that first corner and I crash it,
Yeah.
whereabouts am I going to pull out $1.something million to fix that car?
That's exactly right. Exactly right, mate. And you can put your cards on the table and you can go, right, well, I want to do this, so Toyota 86, for example. I want to race a Toyota 86. I can get a car, I can get myself on the grid. All right, I've got to bring sponsors on board. And then that's at the point when they go, okay, well, what experience have you got? And unless you've been there and people have seen you race, I don't think you're going to be able to get a sponsor to follow you there to obviously pay your debt if you crash that car.
Well, that's it, yeah. And I think the other new one now is the Hyundai XL Cup, the new grassroots to racing, basically. Cheapest way of racing. You can buy a little Hyundai XL, do it up, and I think it costs you $5,000. That gives you a car ready on the grid. Problem is if you got no sponsors, you then got to pay entry fee.
Yep.
You got to pay tyres. You've got to pay fuel. You've got to pay any damages done to your car or anyone else's if anyone else in the crash.
Yep. Easy.
Then you go, okay, if you do get sponsored, the sponsor only gives you so much. He goes, right, well, I've never seen you race, so you're going to have a really sponsor who's not really in motorsports. So let's just say a fish and chip shop down the road.
Yep.
He's only going to give you so much money. That money's not going to cover the crash. That money's not going to cover the entry fee or anything like that.
Yep.
That might cover a tyre.
That's right.
Then, unless you're doing well, unless you're consistently in the top fives, top threes, everything like that, that's when the sponsors then come to you and say, well, hang on, there's your first year in your Hyundai XL Cup. First race, you came 10th. Second race, third, 6 rounds in, and, you've just won your first race. Then a sponsor comes on board, but it's not going to be, Red Bull or Castrol or Supercheap or anything like that. It's going to be another little small company.
Yep.
And then you gradually grow from there, and it'll take you years. This is why a lot of people don't realise, but in order to actually get into racing, you need to go back to the go-kart days when you're only 5, 6 years old.
Yep.
Mark Winterbottom, Jamie Whincup, Scott McLaughlin all did it. They were only 5, 6 years old. They started off in a little go-kart.
Yep.
Their dad and they helped them build it. Then they won some races. Then sponsors got them. Then they went upper class. Then another sponsor. Then another sponsor. Then another sponsor. Then into the Formula Fords.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Again, more sponsors came through. Then into the Dunlop series. Then into the V8s. And I think Scotty's 26 or something like that.
26, yeah.
It's 26. So it's taken him 20 years just to get into the V8 supercars. Took him 19 years to actually win his first V8 supercar series.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is a massive, massive career. And not a lot of people realise that. They sit there and go, oh, I'm 20 years old. I'll just race a V8 supercar. No, it doesn't work like that.
It's never going to happen, mate. And again, that comes back down to this and what we're speaking of with the esports and the rig and the simulator. It's given us the opportunity to live our dreams.
That's it. So, as I said, I might not be able to race a real V8 supercar, but I know for a fact the closest I'm going to get is on this rig. and I know for a fact it is going to be the most simulated version of what I'm doing.
Yep. Yep.
And that is and that's my career high, because I know for a fact I'm not going to go any further. I know for a fact I'm not going to sit there in the back of my mind going, "Oh, if I keep doing 2-minute fives on on my rig, Red Bull or someone will call me up going, well, hang on, you're beating Scotty McLaughlin's time." No, it's not happening like that.
That's right.
Because there's two different things. There's simulation, then there's actually controlling the car.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, it comes back down to the supercars in the esports series at the moment. There's a qualification process, and if you can meet those qualifications, mate, you're in. You got your foot in the door, and the only way you're going to do that is by spending a lot of time in the rig and hard work, and keeping your mind sharp and your body fit. And it's just like you said, it's a sport. And until people realise that, I don't think that that sim racing is going to get the respect that it truly deserves. I know I respect it, and I know you respect it, but I think it's only going to get bigger. But I think it'll get a lot bigger if people just give it the respect.
That's it. That's correct.
So we touched on that for quite a while. I think we spoke a little over 30 minutes about the rig and the experiences that it's given us. So
that's how passionate we are about it,
mate. That's exactly right. So, and I couldn't have asked for a better discussion with you about it, mate. And I think that's why I asked you to be the guest on the rig, because on the podcast, because I just know how passionate you are. You remind me a little bit of myself, mate. And it's an honour to have you here in the podcast, and just thank you for coming on board, mate. And it's so good to have someone so passionate. And again, touching on that, mate, how many people have you come across in your career in the rig that you can actually call upon to call yourself? Sorry, let me start again. That you could call upon and call your true mates over the rig, over the simulation, over racing in the esports.
Oh, that's it. I mean, the amount of mates I've made over this. I mean, to be honest, I usually just go to work, come home, and that's it. I'm not a big person to go out with mates, go out drinking, go out partying, go out all that
mate,
type of stuff. I'm not that type of person.
I've been there and done that. It's not as fun as it
exactly.
used to be.
No, and that's right. And unless you've got mates that understand that you don't want to do that, a lot of your mates just turn around and go, "Oh, see you later," and they go.
That's right.
But on this, I mean, the amount of mates I've got. I mean, yourself. There's Taylor Amada. There's
Yep.
Lawler. There's Shadow.
Roderick,
There's Dino. Roderick. Yeah, Dino. Dino.
Yep.
There's Jeff Tait, Alistair Taylor, everyone like that.
Yep.
All the people I've met, all the people that have given me tips and everything like that.
Yep.
It's amazing. And I know, touching base to Taylor, I know he's got depression and anxiety and everything like that, and he struggles through life.
Yep.
He hasn't got many mates in that, but when it comes to racing on a rig like this, everything he's worried about, stressed about, everything like that, it goes to the back of his mind, and he's not actually realising that. And that's what's good about this, because we can all jump together, we can all be together,
Yeah.
we can have fun, we can laugh, we can carry on. It's basically our life in another life, basically.
Exactly.
We've got mates we can put our lives on, basically. Taylor knows for a fact if he's having a bad day, he can come talk to me.
Oh, mate.
He
100%.
might live in New South Wales or Victoria or something like that, and I might not be able to go see him. But hey, he knows for a fact if he's having a rough day, or same as you, or a Shadow or anything like that. I'm used to calling him Shadow. But but they all know if something's going wrong in their lives, or that they need to talk. They know for a fact I'm there to listen. I'm there to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And I'm the same way.
I mean, how many mates can everyone else count on their hand that will sit there and talk to them about what's going on in their life? And I will bet anything, a lot of people will sit there and go, you know what? I've got mates, but none of them really sit there and say, what am I doing? How am I going?
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Exactly right. And, I know for a fact, people that I've reached out to as well, couple of the GSR guys over in New Zealand, mate, they know that if they ever come to the country, my door is always open for them, and I can guarantee it's the same way if I was to fly to New Zealand. And I've never met these guys, and there's very little people in the world that you would do that for, but I think the sim racing community is a community that is just, they're mates, they're people for people, and like you said, you can reach out and you can ask questions, and we're all here for one thing, and that is racing, but we're all here for each other as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, I remember our very first charity cruise, the Cruise for Cruise, back in January.
Yes, yep.
All of us raced against each other. All of us, we always have that passion of, I'm going to be here. We're always going to have that banter.
Yep.
That day we all came together was a day that we've all sat there and gone, you know what? We are really good mates here. We can have this banter. We can have this race. We can lose our crap at each other, basically, on the track if something goes wrong.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we know for a fact it's just a game.
Yeah. Yep.
And we know for a fact that we're there for each other. So if something does happen, we're not going to sit there and go, oh, bloody, Dallas flipped me off at the first corner, screw him. No, it doesn't work like that.
No. Yeah, that
we are there for each other, and that is it.
Exactly right. That's the opportunity for a little bit of banter. I'd in that instance, I'd turn around and go, Dan, what the bloody hell were you thinking, mate? I thought you were a good driver, and you turned me at turn one, and then that's when the little banter starts. But at the same time, it's almost in a friendly manner, and it will always go back to the grassroots of being mates and having that banter.
That's it. I mean, as I said, I remember the very first race of the Fast Fours, and I'll still remember this. CXR Supreme, and a lot of people, unless they actually watch the live stream, won't understand what happened. But first lap of the first race, CSR Supreme went wide into the tyre barrier. I was in third place, had nowhere else to go, ran straight into him, and that was it. I was DNF for the rest of the race.
Yep, I remember it vividly.
Yes, yes, I was pissed. Yes, I was upset. But at the end of the day, it is just a game.
Yep.
Me and Supreme still talk because we know for a fact it didn't hurt us. It's not like I had to go out and spend $1 million to fix my car.
That's right.
Because he crashed.
That's right.
And
you can make a story of it.
We still talk. So exactly.
Yep, the power of social media, mate. You can make a story of it. You've got your Facebook group and your Facebook page, DC Racing. You can post to that, and you can get the community involved, and it gives them something to look forward to as well. But it gives you, I know not finishing the races, it's not ideal, but it also gives you a sense of refreshment, knowing that you've got these followers, and you can have that story and share that story with them.
Well, that's it. As you were saying, I've got a page, DC Racing. I'm not sponsored by anyone. It's just me on a rig. But, I create the sponsors, So for this year, I've created Castrol as my sponsor. So I'll write up a story saying, the Castrol CEO said this about my racing or something like that. Something little, something quirky, where the fans can then sit there and go, oh, you know what? He's actually got the CEO involved. Or, he's actually got the driver talking.
Yeah.
Or the team owner talking.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people realise it's just me making up a story.
Yeah, exactly
but
right.
They all sit there and go, oh, the team owner said this, or the driver said this, and, Castrol said this, and all he's,
Yep.
That's what this is about. It's not about, just jumping on and playing a game.
Yeah.
It's about the passion of it. It's about the getting the community involved. It's about the fans wanting to hear what happened, the fans wanting to know how the crash went, And what did I have to do? Did I have to change cars, or did I fix the car, or did I have to change sponsors, or did the sponsor turn around and say, see you later, out the door type thing? It's... Yes, a lot of people will sit there and go, oh, you know what, you're just playing a game, making up stories. That's great. Think what you want. But my fans, I know for a fact, love hearing the part of, oh, Castrol said this, and, or, Bogan Monkey is what my gamer tag is, which is my driver. Oh, Bogan Monkey said this, or, Daniel said this, who's the team owner, which is me.
Yep, exactly,
It's a
exactly.
little story, and it gets the fans involved, and it gets you involved as well as the driver. You're pumped then because you go for the next race. You know, the race I DNF'd on. The very next race, I was in a new car. I was fresh. I was challenged. I was ready for redemption. I came back.
Yep,
You know, so
exactly, exactly.
the thing it does for you, it is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, mate. And we couldn't experience it anywhere else. You know, unless if you're playing Call of Duty, for example, unless you've got pro backing, or you're on the pro circuit or whatever, you can't. I don't think you can build that fan base because people just aren't interested. But what I'm trying to create with Evans Esport is that community that we do have. And it's the little guys that are punching above their weight that can certainly experience what we're experiencing.
That's it. I mean, Dano, one of the CXR boys, he's only 16 years old.
Yep.
You know, he is a credible driver for 16 years old. I'm 26 and he's up with me, and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm racing with a 26-year-old that's, down in Melbourne or something like that, or 16-year-old that's down in Melbourne
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly
You
right.
know, it is incredible to feel that. I can literally sit on Forza if I wanted to and play against the AI,
Yeah.
which if people don't realize is the computer,
Yeah.
basically. If I wanted to sit there and race against the computer, that's fine.
Yeah. Well.
But to actually race against real people that are actually in the real world, which doesn't cost me a thing, it is amazing and it is great.
That's right. That's right, mate. And I've been lucky enough to have the support, obviously, from you guys with Evans Esports. But earlier in the year, I released the news that Plantronics have sent me 2 sets of headphones because they like what I'm doing. I've got Tait Auto Group on board because they're enjoying what I'm doing, and they're just looking for reach. I understand that, but obviously we're doing something right if we can reach that potential that they're looking for.
Well, that's it. Yeah, like the first season, you had Forgiven Coffin Cup Company, you had BP Images. The sponsors that are coming through
Yep.
just to get their name out there. It doesn't matter if they're just going, oh, you know what, I want my name out there. That's fine.
Yep.
But it's the part of, because their name is out there, they're watching the stream
Yeah. Yeah.
to see if their name's actually out there.
Well, that's right.
They're watching the stream. The people who are interested in them, say Tait Auto Group, obviously car people, or the people that like their page will then sit there and go, well, hang on, this guy's watched this guy's stream. I better watch this stream. That then brings in another 60, 70 something people.
Yep.
Coffee company. How many people love coffee?
Exactly right.
The amount of people that would have watched the series from that just because it was on their page.
Yep. Yep.
We're not looking, a lot of us aren't looking to sit there and go, oh, we want our name out there, we want to be paid big bucks. No, it's nothing to do with that. We actually sit there and we actually like racing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right. And it's hard work, mate.
And if we can, and that's it. And if we can help the community by doing what we're doing,
Yep.
then by all means, we're going to do it.
Exactly right, mate.
I mean, you and myself came up with the idea, Cruise for Cruise, the cruise, the race series for the Beyond Blue. The money we raised as a community, just sitting in our games, as everyone calls it,
yeah, mate. I actually commented.
is incredible.
I don't know if you've seen the comment that I posted, but I actually had people message me going, if this is what you're doing for Beyond Blue, why don't you go out and bloody do something about it? I'm going, well, hang on, mate. We managed to raise, I think it was not quite $200 all up, but that was for one night, a couple of hours with a couple of mates sitting, as they say, on an Xbox. I didn't have to go out and do something because I'd done it within an hour sitting at my house. And, not to be antisocial, but, there's not many opportunities that you can have that you can do that and achieve that greatness by, if I was to go out and, I honestly don't know how I would raise money by going out and doing something. The only way that we know how to raise money, the only way we know that we can support and dedicate something to these particular charities is by running these events and these races.
Well, that's it. If I decided to raise money for the cruise or Beyond Blue the way people wanted me to do it, and that's out in the streets and everything like that. The only money I'd be raising is for the police, because I would have been busted in my car for doing what we did in that game.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, the amount of the politics that you would have had to jump through. I remember having a conversation with you just in regards to insurances and everything else. It was just, yeah, it was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, a lot of people don't realise that. Yeah, you and myself, we actually tried to get it out there, not just on the game. We actually tried to get it out there in real life. We had hundreds of people wanting to do this. The only thing we couldn't, the reason why we couldn't do it is because we had to have insurance in case people crash their cars or anything like that. We had public liability insurance. Then we had the council. Council won't let us stay here. Council won't let us stay here. Then it come down to the police. Too many people turns into a gang. Turns into this. You know, to have too many people then turns into a big fight. You know, that's, you know.
Yeah.
Then it comes down to people then started turning around saying, well, how do we know the money's going to that location? If I give you cash, how do I know the money's going to go there?
Yep.
You know, the challenges we went through, and both you and I were setting this up for almost 2 months before we actually sat there and gone, we can't do it.
Yep.
We physically cannot do it.
Yep.
And this is when we decided to do it on Forza. We did it on Forza Motorsport 7. We did it also on Forza Horizon 3. It was a 3-day event, that Cruise for Cruise.
Yep. And I think, a little over a week of planning it. And, we were able to achieve greatness.
That's it. And, you know, like, as you said, a little over a week, we had at least 40 people rock up over the 3-day weekend. You know, we had hundreds of followers per stream watching us, doing what we love doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And we knew the money was going to the event. Everyone knew the money was going to the event because as soon as they clicked on the link, it went straight to the the New South Wales Fire Brigade.
Yeah, that's right.
So people knew the money went there. We didn't need insurance because, well, if they crash their car, they crash their car. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah, hit the reset button, as people would say.
That's it. You know, so we tried to get it out there. We tried to do it in real life, everything like that. But politics and everything got in front of our way. So we've just gone, you know what? Let's do it the way we know how to do it.
Exactly.
On the game.
Exactly right. And look, you know, the rules and the regulations and the politics are there for a reason. I understand that. However, this is the potential that sim racing has got, and the community that we've built. This is what we're able to do.
That's it. I mean, you know, the Beyond Blue race we did, you know, it was less than a week trying to put that together. It was basically a rush job. And we still managed to raise just under $200 in 1 hour race, and a thing that was set up within probably 5-6 days.
Yep, exactly.
You know, if we planned it a little bit more, which we should have, and that's, you know, I admit we should have done that. But if we did plan it a little bit more, and we did actually have, you know, the 3-day weekend again, like we did with the Cruise for Cruise and everything like that, you know, we could have easily raised $500, $600, $700.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But to raise just under $200 within basically a couple of hours, just imagine what would have happened.
Yep, exactly. I could just imagine, and it comes down to the power of social media, and what we're doing here. Of course, Evans Esports and the streaming services certainly help that situation, but. You know, if you put a livery on your car and post a picture and put it on your page and it gets 10 likes and 10 shares, it's going to build greatness. It's going to build a following. And at the end of the day, if you've got a donation link there, people are going to obviously support it. And I think that was the biggest thing that I took away from those events, particularly the Cruise for Cruise. It was absolutely mind-boggling. I think it was like 4,500 interactions with the donate link, and it was just mind-blowing. And it was at that moment I just went, what we've got here is a very powerful tool.
It is. It is. It's a very, very powerful tool, and a lot of people and everyone, if they are listening, I mean, there's a group out there called Gamers with a Good Cause, or Gamers with Good Hearts, I should say. Go and like that page. Go and join that page, because that's the page we have decided to do. We will be doing cruises and races and events like this throughout the year, and raise money for different occasions. So Beyond Blue, breast cancer, homelessness, diabetes, all that type of stuff. It's not just raising money just for the top notch what everyone thinks of. We would be raising money for every single little tiny organisation that is out there.
Yeah, and happy to do it, mate. Tornadoes just rip through the United States, and if we can empower them and help them, it doesn't have to be, like you said, the big punches. It can be absolutely any cause. Anyone that jumps into the page can obviously post and go, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to support, and the community that we've got there, we'll all jump on board.
That's it. As I said, the Beyond Blue one, I created a livery with the Beyond Blue. I had their phone number and everything like that. We put it on our cars. You live streamed it. You going past our cars with the Beyond Blue sticker with the phone number underneath it as well. 10 people see that would share it. Another 10 people share that. Another 10 people share that. After a while, you've seen, about 60,000 people have seen that. 60,000 people have seen that number.
Yep.
And Beyond Blue can then sit there and go, they don't realise we're doing this. That's the other thing too. A lot of people will sit there and go, oh, you're probably getting paid, or you're probably getting told. No, we're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. None of these organisations know we are doing this.
Exactly.
We're not going out and trying to receive a trophy or anything like that, or a piece of paper saying, hey, look, I raised this much. No, we're doing it for the goodness of our hearts. Beyond Blue didn't know we did that. The Fire Brigade didn't know we did that. We don't want them to know that we did that.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we're there about.
Yep.
What we're there about is getting together and just raising money.
Exactly right, mate. And to put it into numbers, when I spoke to Plantronics or Rig for the headphones, when I was talking to them, this was going on for weeks with emails, and eventually getting in touch with a guy, and my comment to him was, say I've got 24 drivers per race, Forza Motorsport or Project Cars, so that's 48 drivers. They've each got an average of 500 friends. If each driver was to share the race or the post or whatever it may be, the potential reach for that one post is 24,000. And then the friend of the friend then shares. That becomes 48,000, and it can be quite mind blowing, the reach that we can potentially have, and that's what I'm aiming to do. Is this we as the young guns, I guess you could say, that don't have the big budgets, that don't have the big sim rigs, that don't have the pro contracts with the teams. We as little guys can still have that reach, if not more reach, if we put in the hard work.
And that's it. That's totally correct. Like as I said, none of us have got the big monies to put in. If I had the big money, I'd be definitely putting, thousands of dollars in. But the little money I have spare, at least, I will put it across. Because every cent helps.
Exactly.
That just under $200, we raised. No one knows how much that could have affected someone's life. That could have saved 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. That.
No one knows that.
That we don't know, but all I do know is we done our part and we raised that money and we helped someone potentially save someone's life, and that's a huge reward.
That's it. I mean, especially with the Cruise for Crews, Fire Brigade, they were doing that volunteer. Most 3/4 of them were volunteer. They weren't getting paid for that. People that lost their houses, everything like that. Even if we'd raised, $500 or $600, that's a couple of cents or a couple of dollars extra that the Fire Brigade or one Fire Brigade bloke's going to get, or, a house. Someone that lost a house is going to get, $200 to extra $200 to do furniture or something like that. They don't know where it's come from. They don't really care where it's come from. They're grateful that people have done this for them.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I know that they're not going to have a clue what we've done. We're not going to be personally thanked by these drivers, these fireys, sorry, or these guys. But what I do know is we know that we've achieved something. We know that we achieved greatness, and that is a big enough thanks in itself that we don't have to be known to obviously to have or to be rewarded.
That's it. That's absolutely correct. Look, as I said, we're not looking to be rewarded. We're not looking to have the certificate saying we raised this much money or rah rah rah. We're not that type of people. All we care about is actually helping people out, and that's what we are doing.
That's right. That's right. Which comes back down to the racing community that we've built, and that is getting bigger, of course. It doesn't matter what group you're in or who you race for and what team you're in. I think at the end of the day, that as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying doing it and you're learning something, whether it's from the rig, from the car, from the track, or from the community, from other people in the community, and people that you can call your mates, then who wouldn't want to do that?
That's it.
I know for a fact I wouldn't want to be at the pub on a Friday night. I know where I want to be.
Oh yeah, definitely in front of the TV with my mates, having a race.
Yep, and a whiskey, of course.
Yeah, of course, yes.
All right, man. We better wrap it up because we've been raving on here in the podcast for a little over an hour. It's been, as I said, wonderful, mate, to have you on board. Just quickly, with Melbourne, the Formula One, a little over a week away. What are your big thoughts there with the Formula One? Who do you think is going to take out the first punch? And, of course, with the supercars as well.
Actually, I've got my money on Ricardo. After his race last year, the start of the race, I think he's going to be looking out for redemption. So my money's on Ricardo to come back strong.
Yep.
And prove that Renault team is an actually really good team. So, yeah, I'm definitely going Ricardo on that. And for V8 supercars, it's going to be a tough one. I know Cam Waters has done an absolute great job at the start of this year.
Yep.
Whincup, McLaughlin, Chaz Mostert in the WAU car.
Yep.
Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Now going from Ford to Holden.
Wasn't that
and getting a podium on the first or the second race, I think it was.
Mate, you wouldn't have read about it, and there's been people that have jumped ship from Ford or Holden or vice versa in previous years and have never performed at that level that Chaz Mostert performed. And maybe it was the change to the design of the shock with everyone having the same shocks across the board, same tyres, whatever it was. Chaz Mostert was on next level with his performance, and I think moving forward with the year, he's the guy to be watching, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the guy to watch. I think between him, Whincup, and McLaughlin, that's going to be your top three through the year, and that's the three you're going to have to watch. Mostert and McLaughlin both have a similar driving style. Whincup's got a completely different driving style, but it works for him.
Yeah.
The different driving styles between all the drivers, Chaz and Scott are both aggressive, but they know to be defensive at the same time. Whincup knows to be defensive at the start, but then can be aggressive right late of the race. So it's going to be anyone's game this year, but it's definitely going to be between those three, and I would not be surprised if you chuck Waters in that.
Yep. Oh, mate. Yeah, exactly.
Into the top four.
Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I've enjoyed watching Cam Waters develop as a driver. I'm not sure if you remember when he was on that Shannon's Supercar Showdown with the Kelly boys.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, he ended up jumping into the Xbox Falcon.
Yep.
As a wild car, him and another racer that's now racing in the Dunlop series now.
Yep.
But yeah. So that was a wild card event. You
It
know, that was their first ever attack at a V8 supercar,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. I was there that year, and I just remember he hit the wall at the elbow, at Forest Elbow. He hit the wall.
Yes.
He was in the pits 5 or 6 laps, whatever it may be, and I just remember the roar of the crowd. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. When he come back out on track after they repaired that car, that's something I would never forget, was the sheer excitement and enjoyment and passion that all the fans had, whether it was Holden, Ford, I'm not sure if Mercedes and Volvo were in there at that time. I think it was pre those guys. But the amount...
That was pre, yeah, it was pre them.
Yeah, yeah, but the amount of passion that every fan had when he drove back out on track, it was mind-blowing. It's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You know, we can have our Ford fans, Holden fans, Nissan fans, Merc fans, Volvo fans, all of that. But again, another thing is the V8 supercar committee, or community, I should say. We can all love each other's brands, but we know for a fact if a racer has deserved that race of the day, or that racer has crashed and, you know, something's gone wrong, we all stand together. Doesn't matter if it's a Ford or a Holden or a Nissan or a Merc or anything, that we stand together as one and we show our support.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, you only got to see
You know,
it last year at it was the Gold Coast, wasn't it? With Scott McLaughlin and Shane Van
Lachlan
Gisbergen.
rolling it, yeah.
Yep, and, you know, same time this year with Cam Waters and Shane Van Gisbergen, you know, completely opposite teams, you know, Holden versus Ford, and then energy drinks, Monster versus Red Bull, but they didn't care. They, you know, Shane needed a lift, and Waters was there to give him that lift, to Uber him back.
And that's it, you know. And that's it. And the Raw, at the end of the day, when Waters, sorry, was driving Giz back and was going through the pits and ended up dropping Giz off, the roar through the crowd was incredible. You could hear it through the TV. It was incredible.
Yep. Yep.
You know, Ford, Holden, Nissan, whoever the fan was, the community got together and realised that, yes, we can have this big banter battle between Ford and Holden and everything like that, but at the end of the day, we come together as one, and we support each other.
Yep. Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right. Mate, again, it's been wonderful having you here in the podcast. I really appreciate you jumping on board. Sorry. I guess, is there anything from you? Do you want to? We did talk a lot of sim racing and our rigs and our experiences and that, which is what I wanted to bring to episode 1. So I guess if there's nothing else you wanted to touch on, mate, I really, really appreciate your passion. And as I said, you kind of remind myself a little bit of me. And again, thanks for jumping on board.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, as I said, pretty much covered everything. You know, we could literally sit here and talk for days about sim racing. There's loads of stuff we can cover.
Yep.
And I mean, we'll probably cover more through different episodes, you know, throughout the year or whatever. But basically what we covered tonight is basically just the tip of sim racing.
Yep.
And that is basically the basics of it. You know, as I said, throughout the year we'll probably touch bases on a bit more advanced stuff, so heel and toe or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, if anyone's got any questions, the listeners, send them through to whatever platform you're listening on, to the Evans Esports Facebook page. And if you do have a question, obviously myself or Dan will certainly answer that for you.
Yeah, that's it. You know, if I'm at work, you know, most of the times I'm at home, so I'm racing on the sim. So, you know, you got a question, hit me up, I'll answer it. You know, if I don't know a question, you know, I'll point you in the direction of someone who does know the question. You know, so
yeah.
You know, our community's that big that no one realises it. It's almost as big as the V8 supercar community.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And I know, mate, I'm a huge gamer as well as an esports driver. And I know how big gaming has got in the last probably 2 or 3 years. Like, it's $1 billion industry. it's worth billions, and I think esports and sim racing, particularly, it's only going to get bigger and bigger, and at some point, it's going to be an industry in itself.
That's it. It's just going to take time. I can definitely see this is going to be an industry in itself. So it's just going to, when it happens, is basically the next question.
Yep, exactly right, mate. Exactly right. Well, man, I'll probably catch up with you tomorrow night when you jump in Group C. Again, thanks for jumping on board. Can't wait to have a chat with you again next week or whenever it may be. It's something I want to try and do weekly, but time will tell. But episode 1 is pretty much wrapped up now. We've covered, as you said, just the tip of what we want to cover, and I think moving forward it's going to be an awesome podcast. And again, thanks to everyone who makes this happen, particularly Tait Auto and Dan for yourself, mate, for jumping on board as well.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks to all listeners. Unless while you guys aren't here, we probably look like a couple of idiots just talking to ourselves. But
Yeah.
Again, thanks to you guys that you're the ones that make this possible. If we didn't have fans, we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So thanks to the fans that are listening in. Again, Tait Auto Group, thanks for jumping on board as well. The further we go through, obviously more people will jump on, and that's great. So,
Yep.
as I said, without you guys, we can't do this. So, thanks to you guys all.
Mate, too easy, and I'll let you get moving. I really appreciate you, as I said, jumping on board and getting amongst this. And until next week, mate. Happy racing.
Thanks, mate.
Once again, guys, thanks for listening to the Sim Talk podcast presented tonight by Tait Auto Group. Don't forget 10% off Auto Pro. Send your shopping cart to the Evans Esports Facebook page, and those guys will sort you out. 10% off, thanks to the Tait Auto Group and Evans Esports. Again, guys, good night, and thank you for listening.